You have been lied to by the outdoor industry, and, well, it is costing you hundreds of dollars while leaving you colder than a soldier on the Eastern Front. We are conditioned to believe that synthetic fibers and proprietary fills are the only way to survive a sub-zero night. Yet, during the harshest winter of 1944, infantrymen survived without a single strand of polyester. Before we dismantle the marketing myths of modern survival gear, make sure you subscribe to Atten Recounts right now, because we are, digging up the forgotten manuals that kept history alive. The method we are discussing today isn't just a piece of trivia, but a life-saving thermal physics application that the Wehrmacht and the Red Army discovered out of pure desperation. It turns out that the most effective insulator wasn't the wool itself, but a specific way of manipulating dead air space that modern mummy bags completely ignore. If you are relying solely on a loft that compresses under your own weight, you are already freezing. Here is how the greatest generation hacked thermal dynamics to cheat death in the Ardennes. The fundamental flaw in modern sleeping bags is compression. When you lie inside a $500 down bag, your body weight crushes the insulation beneath you, rendering the loft useless and conducting your heat straight into the frozen ground. The World War II hack that solved this is what field manuals referred to as the rigid air pocket method. Soldiers in the Battle of the Bulge quickly realized their issued blankets were, just not enough against the biting cold, so they utilized crumpled paper or dried foliage, but not just as extra padding. They understood that by trapping these materials between a canvas shelter half and an inner wool blanket, they created non-compressible air pockets. Unlike down feathers, which flatten, crumpled heavy-stock paper maintains its structure under the weight of a human body. This creates a rigid layer of warm air that acts as a thermal barrier between the soldier and the frozen earth. It is a concept called structural insulation, and honestly, it is the primary reason a homeless survival strategy often outperforms high-end hiking gear in static scenarios. You can apply this historical knowledge today by modifying your current sleep system rather than buying a new one. The execution requires a heavy canvas tarp or a bivy sack as your outer shell and a 100% wool blanket as your liner. The critical step is the filler. So, you need to gather dry, crumply debris, like, dry leaves, pine needles, or even balled-up newspaper if you happen to be in an urban setting, and stuff a layer about 4 inches thick between the ground and your wool blanket. And really, do not lay directly on the wool. By sandwiching this debris, you're actually building a mattress of dead air that, won't collapse beneath you. This approach, it mimics the multi-layered winter uniforms of the Soviet troops, who, by the way, used quilted cotton specifically because it held its shape much better than single-layer wool. When you crawl into this sort of burrow, the canvas blocks the wind, the debris traps the heat your body generates, and the wool manages the moisture. It's a crude, heavy, but honestly incredibly efficient system that relies on physics rather than, marketing. Another critical aspect where this vintage method, really triumphs, is moisture management during long-term exposure. Modern sleeping bags are, in essence, plastic bags that trap sweat, and in freezing temperatures that sweat turns to ice the moment you stop generating heat. The World War II system, though, it breathes. So, wool is hygroscopic, meaning it can actually absorb up to 30% of its weight in water without really feeling wet or, losing its insulating properties. When a soldier back in 1945 slept in a wool roll, their body heat would push moisture out through the wool and the canvas, keeping the microclimate nice and dry. To replicate this, you want to avoid the temptation to cover your face with your sleeping bag, because that just introduces vapour into the insulation. Instead, use what's called the taco fold method. Lay your canvas flat, put your wool and insulation on one half, and then, fold the other half over you like a taco shell. This allows for ventilation on the side while protecting you from overhead precipitation, a balance that zippers and sealed mummy bags often fail to achieve. This technique proves that survival is less about the technology you buy and more about understanding the environment you are in. We often look back at history and assume we have evolved past their hardships, but the physics of freezing to death remains exactly the same. By adopting the structural insulation and moisture management techniques of the 1940s, you arm yourself with knowledge that doesn't rely on a battery or a brand name. If you found this dive into historical survival tactics valuable, share this video with someone who thinks their credit card is a survival tool. Make sure you are subscribed to Atten Recounts for more unfiltered, deep dives into the history that actually matters. Stay warm, stay educated, and keep history alive.